Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multi-millionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. When your life and your business grow as a result of what you're about to discover, please call me and tell me about it. The number to leave a voicemail is 1-888-844-GROW. That's 1-888-844-4769. Long distance charges may apply. Dial now to call me, connect, share your personal story of how my interviews have helped, or share your current challenges and frustrations so I can connect you with an appropriate course, coach, or help you if you connect. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are joined by Antra Getzoff, founder and CEO of the International Alliance for Cryotherapy Professionals, also called CryoProsUnited, home of the 1 million people pain-free by the end of 2020 challenge. After 10 plus years selling cryotherapy equipment, she's become the focal point of her industry, leading over 1,000 small business owners out of struggle and towards the business they dreamed of, plus a meaningful goal greater than themselves as individuals. I've asked her to join us here today so we can talk about her journey as well as her business model so we can be better leaders and smarter marketers. So, Antra, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I am great. Thank you, Daryl, for a great introduction.
Yeah, no, we've had a couple of conversations. This is like our third call. I think we were supposed to have like two 15-minute calls, and they turned into hour-long calls each. And I love your model. I love what you're about, and I just want to get into that. But before we get started, how did you get into business and sales and marketing and entrepreneurship? Like, were your parents entrepreneurs? Do you come from an entrepreneurial family?
No, I couldn't possibly, because I am Latvian and I was born in Soviet Union, Soviet Latvia. Latvia was Soviet Republic, always considered to be west of Soviet Union, but still Soviet Union. So I was 2 years old and already graduated from college when that system fell apart. And as you probably know, in the Soviet Union, there was no business, there was no private property, there was nothing. I had two economies, and my college years: socialism, political economy, and capitalism, political economy. I don't want to go into it at all, but it's crazy. So long story short, basically I was babysitting my little girls after graduating from college when it all happened, and that big monster fell apart. And wild west of Latvia started, or former Soviet Union, and businesses started emerging because now it was allowed. And when it came to me that it's time to go back to work, I had a profession that was kind of obsolete or I was not interested in. And I made a very conscious decision. I want to be in business. At the age of 23, I started it all from scratch. For the first time, but not for the last time in my life. And I jumped into the first more or less serious business venture emerging that I could find. So I have been in business since 23, so for exactly 30 years now. And I have learned everything basically initially by doing, and then by adding whatever I needed from smart people and good schools. So 10 years later, I went back to school, graduated from an MBA program that was Latvian, Canadian, American, and so, but that was 10 years later. Initially, it was just get a change of environment and being aware of it and knowing that when something new is emerging, that's the best time to jump right in and to start going full speed, because until other people will wake up, you will be far gone already.
So what was your original business venture? Like, how did you get started? And, what did you do in the beginning?
So initially, I was working for other people we could say, running other people's businesses. It took me 20 years until I started a venture of my own. So the very first one was a company that was developing like modern retail, if you will. The very first company in Latvia that was introducing barcodes and cash registers where not every single number is typed in by somebody's finger. So the first 5-6 years of my career in business, where I was commercial director of an emerging retail chain. And it was really, initially we started, it was one store. Then when I graduated from there were like 6 or 7 already. And that was something very novelty and in that type of environment, and I learned a lot. Also, my first boss, whom I admired and not at the same time, was killed, literally shot. So
What?
that was he was shot. Yes.
Why?
Mine was that just local mafia, if we can call it so. But he was hurt, and after he was killed, it was his venture. And he 2 brothers who took it over, but it was not going to be anywhere near as visionary as the other one had in mind. So I felt it was time for me to flee or to start for another opportunity. And so I have been going like this ever since. Every 5-7 years, I'm just built that way. I need a new challenge. I can't stand routine. I need that adrenaline that comes with starting new things and fighting for something and not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. And it is on one hand, it's really difficult. On the other, it is the only thing that really keeps me going. And as soon as I feel there is that routine when I go to bed and I know exactly what I'm going to do at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning when I wake up, that's not for me anymore. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to take much time about it, but 30 years in business that I have spent, I had, I believe, 4 times 6 very interesting businesses, all in different fields. But because I am in management, I'm a MBA, and my specialty is process management and operations management. It doesn't really matter what industry I was in. It was about picturing things and putting them in place and putting them in order and having others follow those processes designed by me. So that was what I was doing until I completely turned my life around and decided to arrive in the United States.
So all this was pre-coming to America?
That was pre-coming to America, yes. I came to America 2010, very late 2010, very end of December. So I have been here for not 9 years yet, almost 9.
Got it. Time of this recording, almost 9 years. So, okay, so wow. So was there a big difference you could feel between, doing business in your home country versus doing business in America? And what were they? How was it different?
I would say everything. I have to start with culture. And if you picture where Latvia is, it's a very kind of northeast of Europe. We associate ourselves more with Scandinavians than we do with Eastern Europeans, although we are often, because of the accent, perceived as Russians. That hurts us, honestly, because of the history and everything. But there were so many differences. As like Nordic people, we are very kind of introvert and we don't speak much, and if we do speak, we feel like we have to speak the truth, so it's much rougher way of communicating with people, if you will, than it's here. And I remember my very first 2-3 months here in the United States after I landed was my crazy dream of developing business that didn't exist, and taking America on the road towards holistic wellness and healthier lifestyle. I was flying, literally flying, because it felt so sunny. First of all, I arrived in California and California climate and everything. It was all the beauty around me and the ocean and the mountains and everything. But then wherever I was going, I was not used to like standing in line in a coffee shop and being approached by people who were willing to tell me that my shoes were perfect or my hair looked good or doesn't matter what, but there were those compliments on constant basis and smiling people and very friendly people. And when I already started the business and joined the local Chamber of Commerce and started going to Chamber of Commerce meetings, I would talk to other business owners and they would say, oh my God, how exciting, and I love it, and I love you, and I love your idea. And only then I realized that the next day or 3 days later, I met them on the street and they didn't even realize I've met before. I learned it kind of hard way. It was totally different mentality and approach to me. It took me quite a few months to realize what is true and what is not, and whom I could believe and whom I couldn't, and what is fake and what is really coming from the bottom of one's heart. I must admit, though, that since I moved to Texas from California, I'm feeling much more genuine generosity and kindness than I ever experienced in California. California is a little snobbish, and there are many beautiful people there, and at the same time, the environment is very friendly, yet deep inside it's not.
Yeah. No, I know. I was in San Diego a couple of years, and I know exactly what you mean. It's very interesting. Like when you first come, everyone is so warm and open-hearted and that, but then there's just like an underlying, I don't want to go there, but it's just an interesting microcosm, that's for sure. That's definitely for sure. So,
yeah, not in my own country. If you go to Latvia and you like enter a bus and you suddenly start looking at somebody and your eyes meet, that other person, I guarantee, will start looking away right away, and there will be no exchange of smiles or compliments or anything. I wish it was different. I wish it was changing faster than it is, but it's still like two different worlds.
Yeah. So what were some of your greatest business challenges in coming to America and in getting up and running? What were some of the more difficult things?
First thing was really landing hard and then trying to figure out what I was going to do, because I must admit I was a little adventurous, would be a very nice word for it. So when I said yes to my adventure and coming to America, I was 44 years old. I left everything behind, my apartment to my daughter, sold the car, took 2 suitcases of my favorite clothes, and landed in San Francisco without money or very little money, without knowing a single person, without knowing the market or the environment or anything. That was my first time to go to live somewhere else outside my own country, although I had traveled a lot, been to almost 40 countries or so. I had never lived in a different country before. And here I was saying yes to developing a new business from scratch in a country where it doesn't exist, arriving on tourist visa, but not really visa, but I didn't have a work permit. I was promised one, but I didn't have it at that moment. And then, of course, if we talk about challenges, then after my first euphoria was over and California's sun was not exciting me too much anymore, it took probably a couple of weeks. I am built that way that I can't stand and sitting still and waiting for something. I'm a person of action, so I had to start doing something. And I don't think people in America, at least, realize how difficult it is for somebody who doesn't have a credit score, doesn't have a history, doesn't have a bank account, doesn't have anything, to suddenly start like renting apartments, talking business, getting a business license. I don't honestly understand to this day how I did it, but
perseverance.
In 3 weeks, literally 3 weeks from the moment when I started working on it. I had an apartment to live. I had a business license. I had an office. I had a lease signed, and I had arranged for equipment to come my way so that I could start developing the business I was intending to develop.
Excellent. And what was the business?
So that was, I came to the United States for developing cryotherapy, introducing cryotherapy to the US. So the concept has been around for good 40 years, although I was a user of cryotherapy for my own health. Back home, I must admit that it was not really an industry by any means. There were probably, 25 locations in mainly Eastern Europe. So it was something very niche, something kind of cool, but known to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people and nothing else. And then that American challenge came, and cryotherapy was the thing. I said, okay, that is something I believe myself. It has helped me greatly. And if there is one place in the world where it may fly, it's the United States of America. It turned out to be right sometime down the road, but initially it was almost desperation how to go about it, what to do, because wherever we went, whomever I talked, of course, in California, everybody said, oh, wow, that's such an interesting idea. I was like, you use what? Minus 200 degrees on a naked body? No, it can't be true. So these were kind of conversations that we were having, but I was very serious about developing cryotherapy as a treatment for whole body to really trick you into a new state of wellness. And so cryotherapy has been my thing ever since I arrived in the United States. Before I came to the United States, it was my thing only as a user, never as a business. So if you understand what I mean. So there was something I was aware of. The story, how it all started, in fact, was that I had an American friend visiting whom I was taking care of for a day while his hosting family was away. And there was a big festival in Riga, my hometown. We were walking around and waiting for a big show to start. And we ended up being like literally 100 yards away from my cryotherapy location. And because we had to wait, I told my American friend, we have to wait anyway. Do you mind I go and take my cryotherapy treatment? Because I was having one every single day. And he said, no, I don't mind at all, but I want to know what it is. So I brought him in like 250 pounds, at least, no more. Big American man. Introduced him to the lady in charge, said he wanted treatment. He got his treatment, tried it, and he fell in love with it. And so after his visit, he went back home. I was doing my own stuff again and had already forgotten about it all. But his visit to that cryotherapy location was the inspiration for him to start talking about bringing cryotherapy to the United States. And when he approached me first, I said, are you crazy? What are we talking about? It's like 7,000 miles away. I thought, okay, I am open to new opportunities and potentially going working in other countries. But you couldn't really get farther away from home than I did.
Yeah, like you're on the other side of the planet.
Oh, yes, exactly, half of the globe. So, but he was very insisting, and so I was like, no, but that's such a great idea, and there's nothing like that in America, and you have to come over, and you have to start this business. He said with me. He never became a partner at the end of the day, but that's where it all started. And so 3 months later, I was kind of tired of all that brainwashing. So, okay, if you want to do something, why don't you check whether there is somebody doing something in this field in the US already? He found one guy and dropped his phone number to me by email. And I called the guy, and that was the moment when it actually started, because so we found a common language right away. And then at that moment, I started believing that there must be something in there, and maybe I'm not absolutely crazy after all. Maybe I should at least try. And for me, it is always interesting. I am a perfectionist, and I am very analytical, and it takes me a long time to make a decision sometimes. But once I do it, I would not look back at all. So I have decided I'm going to do this, so nobody's going to stop me. It's just like, totally different person suddenly who is so focused on a new thing and so committed by everything.
You didn't seem to have any other options at this point, right? Like you
when you do that step, you make that step, take that step, then yes, absolutely, you don't have any other options. And that's exactly my case. I landed in the US. I had a plan in mind. Obviously, it didn't work out right away and didn't work out for a few months.
So what have been some of your habits that you felt? And also, like, you worked with so many other small businesses. What are some of the habits that you felt really helped you be successful, and also help some of the clients that you were serving, you saw, be really successful?
That is a good question. For myself, I think, although I am not a preacher of hard working, but there is one thing these days with meditation and everything getting trendy that absolutely drives me crazy is that notion that the universe will somehow take care of it all for yourself. All you need to do is like open yourself up and sit still and it will happen. And that is the worst advice that somebody can be given. And people start somehow believing that all they need to do is to be good people and to pray, and it will start happening. My mentor, Jeff Walker, calls it hope marketing, and I totally agree with him. It does not work. You have to put your hours into it. You have to work your ass off, and that is what I'm really good at. If I put my head to something, I will just keep doing it. And in addition to that, I'm not like dummy. So I mean that I do analyze things and I learn lessons from what doesn't work and from what works. And I am more or less afraid of making mistakes and looking stupid, and more committed to really learning and taking it as like empowerment for the next step. And that commitment and consistency is something that for me has really worked. I probably have to say thank you to my family, although I have hated them for this so many times. When I was a little girl, I always had just A's and A pluses, nothing else. And it was because, first of all, I had like good genes, but it was also because my mother was a teacher of mathematics and my father was a physicist, and both intelligent people, and they never let me do less than I could. And whatever like grades I was bringing home, if it was not A, my mother would make me sit down and redo my work when I was very young, just because she said, you can do better. And cried so many tears, and I hated them for that pressure. But when I was 12 years old, I didn't need any pressure anymore. It had become like my second nature.
I love that. I love that. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. I love that.
Which is a good saying, but it also caused, in fact, amplified my nature-given perfectionism. And that is one thing that is a curse for a business owner. It's just so difficult to overcome. And I have put so much effort and so many hours and like internal tears, I would call them, because there are no actual tears coming out of my eyes. It's like my struggle with myself, like pushing myself over that freaking limit. Because if you gave me freedom, I would every single time find something that I was not ready with yet, so I would not take that step. I would give myself another day to get better prepared. And on one hand, it is a good thing because nothing works if you are not prepared, if you have not put your work in. On the other hand, it is a terrible thing because nothing gets done unless you start doing it. You can think whatever you want in your head, and you can build pictures of perfect world and how you are succeeding, but it has nothing to do with reality. To succeed in reality, you have to really get going. You have to start doing.
You do. You have to. I always say movement over meditation. That's the one thing like a monk would never tell you. I always say that because you can meditate on it all day, and you could sit there trying to perfect it for you, but until you put it in the hands of other people, you don't know what perfect is. And that's that. Like when a missile is fired, it spends 99% of its time course correcting. And so it's just better to get something that you're okay with and put it out there. And then just, life is an iterative process the whole way through. It's all iterative. You want to do your best. You don't want to be lazy. You want to try to do something complete and whole. But like you said, it's almost an art of determining when that is, because the difference between salad and garbage is timing. And if you are too focused on perfection, you might miss your moment. And it's like
right.
That terrible, shitty, sloppy action you took is better than the action you didn't take. And that's that catch-22.
Yes, hallelujah. You are so right. I have learned it the hard way, and I have done it to myself. I really have forced myself into that action, believe me or not, through meditation. I started meditating back in January, and I can't describe how much calmer I have become since then, and how much less I take things personally. That has always been my issue. If I do something and people don't start cheering immediately, I used to perceive it as my failure, which is absolutely wrong thing to do, and you can't get anywhere if you do that. You end up spending all your energy on pitying yourself rather than trying to figure out how to correct. As you said, right? You are correcting as you're going. But getting back to your question that you asked, I was kind of describing what has been helping me to succeed. But when I look at my clients and what they are doing and why many of them are not doing as well as they could, is lack of consistency. And there is that one thing, if we talk about law of inertia, there are two moments that are the most difficult, right? Get something going and then stop something from moving once it's going. And what I observe with especially small business owners, and it's kind of embedded in the nature of owning a small business where you are also an operator and you have to, in most cases, do more than one thing yourself. And you end up multitasking and you're always busy and your head is spinning and you have to do marketing. You say, oh my gosh, especially these days, what do I do about marketing? Everybody does Facebook. Why don't I do Facebook too? You put out one ad or boost one post. It doesn't work. You give it up. You grab the next thing. You keep running a different direction with something different in mind. And this is the way you will never, ever succeed, because there is not enough time that's dedicated to some action that is going consistently the same direction. And the small business owners I see and work with all the time struggle with it a lot, largely because they do not have that kind of privilege to give time to one thing. At least they think they don't. They feel like they have to grab it all at once. And as soon as you start grabbing it all at once, you start failing at everything, because you spend all your energy running around and doing things, but every single point of application of that energy gets too little of it. If you get what I'm trying to say, right? Yep. So you push a little bit here, a little bit there, instead of it's like trying to move a bookshelf just by touching it all over the place by one or two fingers, instead of using both of your hands. It's like, and now I'm pushing, and it starts moving. It's like I'm running, it's not moving.
Yep.
So here we go, right? And so I can't, there's a lot of psychology, and I really love that saying by Tony Robbins, and not only by him, that in every success, 80% of it is psychology and only 20% is skill. And the older I get, the more I believe it really is true. Psychology is the king or the queen, and you really have to put work into it. You have to get your mental game in order, and you have to be able to work with your cockroaches in your head. There is a book I love in my home country. It's called Cockroaches in Your Head.
No, I think you're really right. I always relate it to those guys at the circus or whatever that spin plates on like broomsticks. You know, when you're a business owner, you get one plate spinning on a stick, and then you get a second plate spinning on a stick, but the first plate's slowing down, so you got to go back and pick that one up so it doesn't crash, and you get a third one going. And at some point, you have too many going. And that's the situation a lot of business owners get themselves in. And they have to realize that you have to be willing to ask for help. And you have to, when you look up the word entrepreneur in the dictionary, it says a person who organizes a business or businesses. What it doesn't say is the person who answers the phone, takes the orders, fulfills on the delivery, you know, cleans the toilet, does the bookkeeping. That's not what it says. It says a person who organizes a business or businesses. And so even like you're saying, these people aren't organized. Like they need to organize themselves better to make sure that they have constant focus and attention on the key leverage points of their business, marketing being one. You can have the world's greatest product. In fact, the business graveyard is littered with world-class products and services that nobody knew about. And so you can take a mediocre or good product, it doesn't have to even be excellent and the best in the industry, and you can help more people than if you spend all your time trying to make the world's greatest mousetrap. I remember I was part of a mastermind group early on in my career, and we were in New Jersey, just across the bridge from Manhattan, and this guy was there, and he was a marriage counselor, and he was talking about how he needs to get all this extra certification. He was investing in like another 5 years of education because then he would be enough. And then, you know, we were saying now, like, well, how many clients do you have right now? And I forget what the numbers, I'm just going to make them up. But I remember he was like, how full is your practice right now? How full could your practice be? And he had the capacity for something like another 50 couples that he could help in his calendar before he would be too full. And then they were like, okay, well, in an 8-block radius of where we are, because we were surrounded by all these, 20-story plus condos and apartment complexes. He was like, in an 8-block radius, how many couples are there in this vicinity that you could help with the knowledge you have right here, right now, right today? And he's like, oh, probably a few hundred, if not 1,000. And they're like, okay, so you don't need more training and certification. You need better marketing, because all these people out there need your help, but they don't even know you exist. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about there, right? Like you don't want to fall behind. You want to have quality products and services. That's really important. But you can have the world's best product and start.
Nobody knows you do have that best product. That's so spot on. There's another guy I admire, a mentor of mine, ABC's secret millionaire. He calls himself because he was on the show, James Malinchuk, right? He keeps saying that you are not in XYZ business, you are in business of marketing your business. And that is so right. I can't express how right it is. And I am only getting it now because if you are a smart ass working for somebody else and you only have like certain tasks to perform and you start falling into an illusion that you are the best performer of that particular task in the world, then being a business owner is totally different. And in that case, you really have to understand that there is marketing that is a necessity. And if you do not market, you don't get anywhere. And unfortunately, I see, again, with small business owners, that vicious circle all the time where I don't have any money, so I can't do marketing. So if you don't do marketing, you will never have any money. And it is the same with employing people. I don't have enough money to employ somebody, so I have to do it myself. So you have to break out of it at one point. I believe I have done it myself, really kind of believe that you have to invest money, and if you don't have your own money, you have to borrow that money to invest in development and something that will bring you more money.
Yep.
You shouldn't be spending money on stuff or like another bookshelf or another fancier computer or flying better plane or
People,
whatever.
training, education, and marketing are good. Yeah, good investments. And you're not always going to be right 100% of the time. I mean, if you think about it, take a simple business like taxi service, right? Go back a few years to where there wasn't apps and all that. So you have a cab driver who has his own taxi, and he's going to be a cab driver. And first he has to figure out how to get customers, how to get enough customers to keep his schedule full. And then when he's got a full schedule, he would go, okay, well, now he wants to hire a driver. But this is the position a lot of business owners get in. If I hire a driver, I have to split my revenue with them. But the idea is you have to get another driver so that way you can focus on helping get more, like help them get a full calendar. Because now you build a team of people, right? Like, so you get paid in relationship to the size of the problems you solve. I saw this when I lived in Africa. When I was in Africa I wasn't there long, I was there 9 weeks, but I really saw that there were like 4 levels of society. And the bottom level were people that are often low skill, low education, drug dependent, or really strong vices. They might be educated, but they were held down by the vices that they had. They were the bottom at the bottom, the ones that had a really hard struggle. The next level up were people who had jobs and they were employees. And they did better, but especially in Africa, where there's like 50,000 people in one job, there wasn't a lot of job security. And they were really I don't want to say the beck and call, but they were at the mercy of their employer. They didn't have any leverage in their position. They were really, it was still a bit of a scarcity mentality and survival instinct because they were just getting, they were getting wages. It wasn't really like, there was just the supply and demand wasn't in their favor. So that, they did better. They could live, but they lived to work, so to speak. And then the next level were people who were self-employed. So like guys there, they used to call them bodas, which is like just a dirt bike, and that was their form of taxi, right? They couldn't really afford a whole car. You would just take a dirt bike and you'd hop on the back and go. So it'd be like boda drivers or someone that would have a convenience store or something. And they did better because there was no middleman taking any profit. But if they didn't get up and go to work that day, they didn't make any money. So they did better than the people who seemed to be just employed with a job, but there was still a lot of struggle there. And the people I noticed that did the best, and this was a big aha moment for me, were it was like the guy who owned and maintained a fleet of these dirt bikes and had the mechanics and also provided training to the drivers on how to do this better. The one who supported the community of the boda drivers, because while, the boda driver only makes money while he's out and driving, this guy owned the fleet of cars. Like a boda driver might not have enough money to buy the car, the dirt bike himself anyways, but he could get training on how to do it, and he could have a fully serviced, maintained motorbike provided to him, right? And that's what this guy did by providing the opportunity for other people, right? And that's really what, like, by providing a unique opportunity for other people, he not only did she not only did better, but they also had some more job stability because they would have to lose many drivers before their income would be drastically affected. So I think that's a really powerful way to think about it and look at it, and especially as a business owner, like if you think of those 4 levels, which one do you fit in? And if you're doing everything yourself, it's time to start supporting other people and building a team around you and not worrying about people stealing your idea, instead thinking about how to collaborate with people in a way that you all benefit and grow. And I think that's really important. That's actually something I'm focused on right now. How do I build a team so it's not just me being the guy that's riding the dirt bike every day trying to make the cash, but I've got a team of people that are riding with us, and I can support them and provide training for them and tools for them and empower them. And that's actually what you're doing now with your current business model, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually very much.
Yeah.
I am still ways away from that day when I can relax and be confident that my business is going to run without my involvement. But I am very aware that I have to get there. It just always happens so with those one person initiated, created and run knowledge-based businesses.
Sure.
It starts with knowledge in my head.
Can you explain your business model a little bit? Like, can you just share? So you've created an alliance, right? You've got the,
Yes.
what is it? CryoProsUnited. So the Alliance for Cryotherapy Professionals. Like, can you talk about that? What is the Alliance? What's its mission? And what do you? Why would someone come to you? How are you monetizing it? Can you just explain your business model there, just the outset?
Oh, absolutely. So the idea was there kind of dormant for years, but I only came like to confidence that I can start pulling it off last year when I started CryoProsUnited. So just a little back loop, if you will. When I started developing this business here, there was no business, so I had basically no choice but to get involved in business development, which meant selling equipment, working with people who wanted to become cryotherapy business owners and so on. And that critical mass was building over years. When we started, it was 0. A year later, it was 50. Now it is 1,500. Like 8 years down the road. So the growth rate was 15,000% from 2011 to 2017. But there was that time when what I was having in my head already then was not feasible because there was no market for it. And then through working with those emerging cryotherapy entrepreneurs, more and more of them throughout these 7.5, 8 years, I have talked to, I don't know how many hundreds, but many hundreds of people either willing to get into business and dropping the idea, or getting into the business, or already being in the business. But one thing I realized, I knew it already, but it started becoming more and more apparent that it didn't matter how many businesses there were in the space already. The questions, the problems, the struggles were always the same. And because I was talking to those people every single day, many, many times a day, I almost started feeling like, guys, I should be recording what I am telling you, because I know for sure that 15 minutes later, there's going to be another guy, and I like a broken record, I will start all over again. And I realized that, it's like thousands of little islands, people who are there, they coexist, they maybe know, maybe don't know about each other's existence, but they do not talk, and the knowledge does not transfer. So the market is growing like crazy, but the knowledge does not transfer. And because my background is in management, training, education, and consulting, and so I have spent many years doing that, and I really loved doing it. Those back home were my happier years professionally ever. I knew I could do this, and because I started the market developments from scratch, and I obtained all that cryotherapy business specific knowledge that is very scarce, in fact, because there are so few cryotherapy businesses in the entire world still, like 3,000, let's say, businesses all over the world, which is nothing, right? I started developing it from scratch, and I made every single mistake myself, and I learned it all. I have spent years researching and following what's going on in the market and reading. And so I had all that stuff already there. Why would I not make it available to people who are in the business or willing to get into the business? And that is the idea behind the Alliance. So Alliance is basically, if you look the word up, a group of people united by a common cause or pursuing a common goal. And if we look at cryotherapy business owners, although some of them don't think that way yet, but there's only one way to develop the industry to the next level. It is, first of all, to be successful one by one. And then if you want to tackle some bigger issue like insurance rates, for example, or FDA approval, not approval, you can't do it being a small business owner in Wisconsin or wherever with 1 or 2 employees, ever. You have to come together with people like yourself. And here is my idea. And if you look at my business name, it's all there. So Alliance, it's a group of people that has come together. The international, I know it needs to be international because although the United States is the largest market, there are 60 countries around the world now that have cryotherapy businesses there, and it's growing. And there are some regions that are growing as fast or faster as the United States. So I took that initiative. I wanted to bring it all together, and I wanted to be that center first of all for those small business owners to go to and to get whatever resources they needed, those questions answered without spending week researching, Googling things, and then getting confused because you get like conflicting messages from all possible corners. But just go to one place, pick it up, take it, use it, and all you need to do is basically you need to concentrate on serving your clients better as a small business owner in whatever local place it is, and everything else is there readily available. So you don't have to multitask as much anymore. You don't have to spend so many hours doing things that you are not good at anyway. You just do what you were intended to do. You organize your team, and you smile to your clients, and you make your clients happy so that they come back and bring their friends with them as well. So that is basically the idea, and how I came up with the 1 million people pain-free. It's again a little bit of a story, but still. I already knew what I was willing to do for the Cryo Professionals. And in preparation for my launch, which was supposed to be a membership program and still is supposed to be a membership program, that's my business model. After all, I started asking people questions. I kind of I knew what was in their minds and what struggles they had, but it's always a good idea to double check. So I did my survey back in April of cryo locations. I had some really great responses. Response rate was better than I expected even. And I saw the same stuff all over again. Capacity underutilization. This comes back to what you said earlier about that guy whom you asked how many couples or how many people in this neighborhood there are you could be serving. I can ask the same questions. You have your little cryotherapy location on this side of the road, and you can help people with pain, for example, and there is somebody living on the other side of that same street, literally less than a mile from you or literally yards from you. And they have no idea that you are there or you can help because they have never heard of you. They have never heard of cryotherapy in the first place. And so looking at that capacity underutilization, and another thing that they were all talking about their struggles with marketing. And their struggles with marketing are grounded in like not having enough resources, therefore not having any results. And at the end of the day, some people end up doing no marketing whatsoever and just doing hope marketing, as we discussed before. And some people just keep wasting their whatever amount they have for marketing purposes per month, wherever they please, in whatever way they feel that particular moment. So that was my kind of eye-opener, and I took it close to my heart, what really people were not knowing how to do. So it's marketing and capacity, meaning more people through the door. And then doing my research, I do it all the time, like literally every single day. And suddenly I started coming across those crazy, staggering pain statistics. Chronic pain is the biggest probably problem in the world, and it's gonna be growing even bigger. There's 1.5 billion people in the world who live in chronic pain, meaning more than one out of 5
every day.
The same in the United States, the same in Australia, wherever you go. And if you live in chronic pain, how does your life look like? You can't sleep, you can play, you can't work normally, you may be disabled, you can't play with your grandchildren, you can't walk your dog, you name it. So for this reason, knowing that cryotherapy is an excellent way to lessen pain because it fights inflammation, which is a cause of most pains. And here we have to talk, that's a different topic again, how people are trained to think that all they need to do is to go to a grocery store or pharmacy and buy a pill and take a pill and fight the symptom.
Yep.
They have to fight the cause, not the symptom, because if they mask the symptoms for long enough, that cause becomes crazy. It becomes chronic. You can't deal with it anymore. And chronic pain is caused by chronic inflammation. And I knew from experience, from research I had, from everything, that cryotherapy is good for fighting chronic inflammation. Therefore, it's good for fighting chronic pain. And here I have two hands full of information. One is my little cryotherapy business owner who has underutilized capacity and not enough people through the door. And on the other side of the street, there is that person who can't sleep at night because they are in chronic pain all the time. And the two have never met.
Yep.
So the 1 million pain-free challenge came out of this. So why don't I just push my membership launch plan a little bit back by a couple of months and start with something that hits the nail on the head. I am doing two parts of the program. One is for individuals suffering from pain, and it's very simple. It's just people have to sign up, and they have free information in their mailbox every single week about holistic ways to manage pain, to lessen pain naturally instead of relying on pain pills. And the other part of the program is for the business owners, where I have prepared stuff for them to show how to market, show how to talk about it, to provide them with materials and information so that they can take it and ready and put into their own marketing communications and newsletters and talk to their local audiences that I probably can't reach. Anyway, so the two finally meet. You understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
So I'm a little crazy again for, I don't know, seventh time in my life, if not more, hoping that I can make it happen. Sometimes you have two huge animals and they are both stubborn and they are both standing still. And
I think it's a great
bicolor and the other bicolor, and you say, okay, guys, let's make friends now, right? Sometimes I feel like this, at least at the moment, because it's the very beginning. At the same time, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of our conversation, yes, I have put a lot of thought and a lot of preparation work into it, but I see so much result already from what I have not really started doing yet. My biggest eye-opener was I got a membership subscription before I even told anybody I had membership. It was just put on my website. It was sitting still there, and here I am opening my emails in the morning and say, congratulations, you have a new member. It's like, what? I don't have a program in place yet, and here's a person who has subscribed for my membership. I reached out to that woman. I told her, I really appreciate your commitment, in this case also financial commitment, because she had made payment. I said, but I have to give you your money back. She started laughing. She said, I've already used your blog post for my own marketing and I was, just why you don't keep that. It was $97, the first month's payment. And I will be your first customer when you are ready. And it was 2 months ago. So, now she is number one on my list already, participants to the project, along with many other people who have already signed up. And it's all, I just so appreciated that eye-opening moment, and also that's honesty and friendliness. Okay, I have already used your stuff anyway. Why don't you just keep my $97 for later?
That's because you've given so much value, you've helped people so much. They just want to be involved and know what else you have to offer. And they trust you, and there's a ton of value in what you're doing for them. And I just love the model. So you're creating an association where you've got a goal to achieve this goal for humanity. This goal for humanity will also translate into sales for them. You intimately know their businesses, so you can speak to them from their perspective, point of view. I love it. And then you're monetizing with a membership site afterwards, which is now a way for people to cooperate because they're so geographically located. They're not really competitors, and so you've created a forum where they can share ideas and kind of have that community governed, so that way if anyone starts being malicious, they can be removed. And I think it's a huge value add because it's a really lonely thing being a business owner. So now, Antra, you've given so much in this call, and I love it so much, and the stories you've told. If people want to get involved, how do they reach out to you? What's your website URL?
It is, as you mentioned, DBA, or a short name for the International Cryotherapy Alliance of Cryotherapy Professionals is CryoProsUnited. So it's CryoProsUnited.com. The business is oriented towards cryotherapy business owners. So if you are in wellness business, you don't offer cryotherapy yet, you probably can find something useful there. If you are not, that's just my niche. I am talking to my crowd, to my people. But that's also where you can find more information about the 1 million people pain-free challenge. There is a separate page about the project, and also 2 different types of registration available. One is for individuals. So if somebody is in pain and interested in learning more about holistic ways of managing pain, then through that page, there's a possibility to register. And everything within this project, everything is free. I'm not charging anything from anybody except for physical stuff. From like point of sale marketing materials is not free because it is not free.
Yeah.
In the first place, I have to manufacture them and to physically deliver them. So for that you have to pay. But participation to the project, which is a 15-month project, is completely free. And as an individual, you chime in, you start getting materials, you start working on your own health. And what is very important to me in this project is that people share their stories, their failures that may be more difficult to get because people don't like talking about their failures, but definitely success stories, because I know there are thousands and thousands of them. I have personally seen people who were not able to walk, and they were told they will never be walking again, and then they are brought to a cryotherapy location and they do walk again. And not only they walk, they also play golf. It's amazing. And like the older I get, the more important it becomes to me to see that I can do something for people, something more than just sell them a piece of whatever. I don't want to use bad words.
Yeah, no, it's all fine. So that's CryoPros United, CryoProsUnited.com. Go check that out. Get in touch with Antra. Antra, thank you so much. Your story is really inspiring. Just the challenges you've overcome and the ways you're helping other people. I really want to be able to follow this and see how things turn out. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. I really appreciate you giving so much and just being so transparent. And again, for anyone that wants more information to follow it or just watch and see how she's engaging with her community and really creating a positive movement in her world and monetizing it as well, go check out CryoProsUnited.com. Antra, thank you again so much. You are valued and appreciated.
Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate you so much and value your time. And thanks once again.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.